And it's great to get the legal sector together to promote the role we all have as lawyers to drive robust, reliable, and impactful change for the benefit of everybody. Now, like many of you listening, we have found the passion and energy of Yasmin and her colleagues inspiring and enabling. And it is no surprise that the publications are so strong and that these events are so popular. We look forward to a fascinating discussion this evening.
Our focus at this event, as Owen has said, concerns the people goals. And our panel of distinguished speakers will be discussing their experiences of how the legal profession has impacted on this very varied agenda. Now, there is little doubt that the events of the last 2 years have played a large part in the pressing need for change. We have embarked on an ambitious undertaking, which we have called the SDG Legal Initiative. A4ID, together with a select number of law firm and corporate partners, including Linklaters, are collaborating on this initiative. The SDG Legal Initiative is a call to action for the global legal profession to work towards Agenda 2030, sharing knowledge, opening up dialogue, and creating communities of practice that can better support the highly ambitious, highly relevant, and wholly worthy cause of eradicating global poverty and creating a more sustainable future for the generations of today and of tomorrow. With only 8 years left until 2030, the target date set for achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and with COVID having set us back in many significant ways, we are hopeful that together we will be more able, more resilient, and frankly, just better than the sum of our parts.
What has progress been affected by? The pandemic, extraordinary crisis, the climate crisis, creating drought, flooding, crop failures in huge parts of the world, increasing conflict. We're all experiencing increasing fragility, but it's a very real thing. And speaking as a chair of a peace-building organization, I know just how serious that is. But I mean, this all sounds very depressing, but I do fundamentally believe that a real difference can be made. There is a huge energy and dynamism to be unleashed in the developing world.
And lawyers should bring certainty. We'll be quite interested, very interested to hear how your take on the role of lawyers in this context. So please get your thinking caps on and put questions in there as we go through the conversation.
And we need also to be sharing our knowledge and lifting ourselves up. So one of the benefits that we've had from lawyers is working with lawyers all around the world to pick their knowledge and their approach and their expertise that informs everything we do. Everyone has a slightly different slant on things, and it just makes everything we do much better. So that's in a nutshell. Thank you.
And we very much are attempting at our Centre for Universal Health Coverage in Chatham House to bring together politicians, the legal profession, obviously health stakeholders, to ensure that these things happen. And I think there's a feeling that a lot of the global health architecture still is treating health in a very technical way. And we're very keen to reach out to the legal profession to engage with the top level stakeholders to make sure that everyone gets the health services they need.
The list goes on, but what it was a really good example of just by putting your heads together and bringing together lots of people with different skill sets in the law, that you can actually achieve something quite remarkable.
Regarding SDG 4 and how law can advance the realization of SDG 4, so the goal on education. I mean, our view is that law is pivotal for realizing SDG 4, and one reason is the Sustainable Development Goal and the agenda is a political commitment. And if we want to make states accountable, we need to go back to the law and to their obligation and make them accountable. So this is one of our arguments to push for the realization of SDG 4.
The world only works thanks to the kind of social organization of laws and reliance on that, and then being implemented properly. And one of the wonderful things is how passionate lawyers, and Aisling and your whole team will have experienced this, how passionate lawyers become when really motivated in making this vital difference.
In order to prevent child marriage, you've got to be looking at other laws in the ecosystem that will really help that situation.
And I think that we need to do a much better job of arguing our case and taking things out into society, into the media, into Parliament, and into the courts as well. You know, that a lot of the you know, sort of areas where people are denied access to healthcare or exploited, you know, require sort of, you know, redress in the courts. And I think that to you know, bring the legal profession into more of these debates.
A lawyer is a really key part of what we could do is that ability to read 1,000 pages and distill it down to 2 pithy points. And that is something that really comes through, and I think in a lawyer's skill set, is they can try and bring together lots of different information and go, right, why don't we put this down in five pages of bullet points, and why don't we see what the answer is? I think trying to square a circle is always an impossible thing to do, but I think there's so many good things we can do to try and make the world better that lawyers can give an awful lot to.
I think Aisling makes a very good point, is that we do need to look at ourselves both as individuals and in terms of our role within our own organizations. Because if we, with all our fantastic advantages, for instance, don't manage to achieve gender equality, just to pick on one of the many topics we've talked about within our own organizations and within our societies, we are in no position or not in as good a position as we should be or could be to assist other countries.
So we have now reached the end of our event, which we hope you found informative and thought-provoking. We've had some excellent examples of how lawyers have already been contributing to this agenda, and have made very significant impacts in having done so. It very clearly shows that lawyers can make fundamental contributions to the SDG agenda, which can have a lasting impact by bringing about significant changes. And by doing so, and I quote Aisling, doing absolutely remarkable work and making that vital difference. And as Diana said, ignoring these SDGs at their peril.